What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. And, I've been doing a little bit of thinking lately, and I think that the motorcycle industry has a problem. And it's not with the industry this time, actually, believe it or not. I think the issue is with us riders, specifically those folks on the internet who are saying, if you're going to get started with motorcycling, you need to do this, or that's not real off-road, or you got to get yourself on a bigger bike. So today, I brought Whitney out of hibernation back there, and we're going to talk about how internet and motorcycle gatekeepers might actually be reducing the number of new riders out there. And should be an interesting conversation that makes nobody mad. Let's hit the road.
What's going on, Whitney? Been a minute.
What's up, Spite? How you doing?
Good. Are you ready to infuriate the entire internet today? Make a bunch of motorcyclists kind of mad because we're going to hit a little close to home for them?
Well, you know me. You can only drag me out if it's some sort of weird self-aware diatribe.
Well, here we go.
And
Let's
here
do
we
it.
are.
Before we dive into it, I guess, let me say that all of the stuff that we're going to talk about, I myself am guilty of. So if this is hitting close to home, it's not an attack. It's more of just like a self-reflection. You know what I mean? We're not trying to antagonize anybody in particular. We're not calling people out. We're just saying that this is a behavior I've noticed in the comments. It's a behavior I've done in the past. And personally, I think it's counterproductive for the growth of motorcycles. And so, with that being said, let's dive on in and let's make everybody real mad.
Spite, would you say this is like shots fired, but only in your own backyard?
Shots fired might be a little bit strong. I think people will think shots were fired, but we're not intending to fire shots, or at least I'm not intending to fire shots. Again, it's just about, this is a behavior that I noticed that perhaps we should correct. And to do that properly, I think the first thing we ought to do is define what a gatekeeper is. So what do you think of immediately when I say the word gatekeeper to you, Whitney?
I think of a tin-foiled wizard hat sitting in the glow of their computer monitor is the first thing that comes to mind.
I'm sure that image alone isn't going to make anybody angry. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of that kind of image associated with the computer. And I think that in a sense, the internet has empowered all these folks to not necessarily post more, but gain more visibility. And if I was going to define a gatekeeper, I would basically be like, it's the kind of person who, knowingly or unknowingly comes off as, this is the way you have to do something, and if you don't do it this way, it's not right. Easiest way for me to explain this is on my ZX6R video, which went live a while back now. I got a couple of comments out while I was out on Lime Creek Road, which Lime Creek. It's the twisty road capital of Texas.
It's full of Kawasaki and Suzuki fenders in almost every corner.
Yeah, I mean it's where the squids go to hang out. And I got a bunch of comments on there saying that those weren't real twisty roads, and as such, it invalidated my opinions of the ZX6R because I didn't test it on twisty enough roads. It's almost like a no true Scotsman fallacy here, where there is no twisty enough road for me to validate somebody else's opinions, assuming my opinion is dissenting. You know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like you're probably more clued into it, but Have you just been on the receiving end of that before?
Are you kidding me? I'm a lady motorcycle rider who exposes her vulnerable opinion on the internet. Of course I have. It was at first a really bummer of an experience, but then a guy from Revzilla reviewed the same bike and got slack for, allegedly doing the same thing. And that was when I rode the Fireblade, the Honda Fireblade. I got so much slack for keeping it in second gear. And I guarantee you 0 of these people have ridden a Honda Fireblade. Despite what gear does second end in? Miles per hour on the Fireblade.
Like 120 miles an hour. It's something insane like that. And when you rode that Fireblade, I remember exactly when you did it. It was post-tune. That bike stopped at 14,300 RPM.
Okay, so if I'm cruising on the highway at 70 miles an hour, I'm not going into third or fourth gear.
No. You're barely leaving first, because first ends at 95.
And so all these people were giving me slack. I'm like, none of you have ridden one. None of you have ridden that $30,000 motorcycle, because I tell you fucking what, it doesn't feel like it's time to shift.
No, it really doesn't. And I think it's worth pointing out that person from Revzilla, Zach Courts,
just got absolutely slaughtered for the same thing. And I was like, ha! It's not just me. It's people who are riding that bike. You cannot treat it like it's a normal motorcycle. And you can't sit here, these little RPM wizard gatekeeper people sitting there yelling at you. Of course, their voice is the loudest. I'm sure 80% of people who watched the video didn't say anything. But it gets in your brain a little bit.
Yeah, and that's actually a great segue into how I think that this sort of energy, A, it's meant to be helpful, but B, it comes off as negative, harshly negative. It's an aggressive criticism of a criticism. And it's entirely fine for people to take issue with something that you say. Like, for example, on the Sur-Ron video, I said that the Sur-Ron makes 24 horsepower. The way that I came by that number is I was looking online and it was like 8 or 4 horsepower listed. And I was like, I've been riding this thing around all day. It don't feel like 8 or 4 horsepower because that's like a Grom. It does not feel like a Grom. And so what I did was I went to Sur-Ron's website. I found the speed at which they find peak torque, which is 4,300 RPM. And then I did the math. That's, 4,300 RPM times 24 divided by 5252, converting torque to horsepower. And people got really mad at me for doing that because I guess electric motorcycles, the torque doesn't convert that way. That is a completely valid criticism. That's me making a mistake. But you riding the Fireblade in second gear because you just don't need to shift that motorcycle, that isn't a valid criticism. If anything, it's a critique on the motorcycle because you just don't need to shift it. You know what I mean?
Yes, and also it's like that is a magical motorcycle in its own category. Riding it is similar to hopping on a stick of butter and going into the sky. I mean, it's so plugged into your brain. There's not a lot of feedback in general, so you can concentrate on riding. You know what I'm saying? But god damn, it's like, chill, everybody.
I know that so far we're using our own examples, but here's another example that I think is causing people to maybe consider not getting on a motorcycle. And it has to do with beginner bikes. And I see it a lot in the States, specifically because we don't have beginner bike restrictions, right? We don't have to go through the A restricting license system that Europe has.
No, you can start on an XSR 900 like yours truly and be terrified.
Yeah, I'm still surprised that you're with us still after starting on an XSR 900. But a lot of guys will say on the internet a 400 for American highways, it's just not enough. You got to have a little bit more power, so you should really get a 650. 400s just make no sense. And this is one where I am absolutely responsible for putting out videos on the internet that say this. So this is a mea culpa to everybody out there who watched one of those videos and felt put off. I've done that before to some folks. And frankly, a 400, it's going to absolutely get the job done. It's going to get you from A to B. You're going to have so much fun on it. And frankly, any beginner's not going to be none the wiser because they just don't have the reference point like more experienced riders do. And what those folks are trying to do is they're trying to be helpful and say, look, this is why this 400 isn't going to work for you. It's a little bit slow on the highway. You're not going to have the passing power. They're not built as well as some of the fancier motorcycles. Those are all legitimate points. But in the comment, it just says 400cc motorcycles are dumb and you shouldn't get one. You should go to a 650. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that can scare some people because that comment, without the nuance of the rest of the argument, it can serve to keep somebody from getting on a bike. And not intentionally. It's not by accident. These folks who are saying it, chances are they're 100% well-meaning. But just the comment section doesn't allow for a nuanced conversation. Have you ever had a nuanced conversation in a comment section?
No sirree, Bob. It's just me shouting into the void, smelling my own farts and my own opinions, and then other people comment on it, and it becomes an open forum. I feel like hopefully the online culture is changing a little bit as we try to inspire more riders, get different types of folks watching content, having more holistic conversations. I would really like to be able to kind of talk about nuanced stuff because there is a lot, especially like, I don't know, I almost feel like up until 10 years ago, it was really hard to get into motorcycling if you didn't know anybody. Like, yeah. I had to reach out to a friend of a friend who rode motorcycles, and he had to, like, you need a dad, and we're dads, right? We're dads of yes, ask us questions. My inbox is full of, like, all sorts of dealership questions or which bike should I get and whatnot. And I'm happy to be the dad, but you do need some sort of anchor to kind of help you navigate a realm if you don't have an influence already in your life.
Yes, and I think that's where we come back to most of the gatekeepers out there. They're really trying to be well-meaning, but they come off as harsh. They come off as a little aggressive, and I think that especially, not only will it scare off beginner riders, but I think it makes it seem like, especially to women out there, and here's a man giving a man's opinion on how women should be, but I think it's that kind of behavior when a woman sees it will be like, oh, this is a boys club, I don't need to be a part of this. And I think that deters some women from getting on motorcycles.
Oh, 100%. And women are, don't have the dick competition thing going on, you know what I'm saying? So they don't care. They're just going to leave it and be like, I don't like it. It's fine, but, that's it. That's it. You've lost a rider. What a bummer.
Yeah, because every single rider lost is a missed opportunity for somebody to get on something that could, without being too hyperbolic, literally change their life. I would say motorcycling has changed both of our lives for the better.
Yes, 100%.
And when you actually get into it, the community at large is so positive and so embracing. Like, you remember what it was like at Get On ADV Fest, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, the adventure folks out there are not at all like the adventure folks online.
Lots of beginners. There's a ton of beginners who are like, oh, I want to go on like a nice, easy, fun ride. They're not all like dual sport competition, X racers.
I think that what we ought to do is just take about 10% offer there, bud. Just a nice little 10% off in the comments. Just if you're coming on in strong, proofread it and de-strongify it a little bit.
You're bringing up a really important life skill, right? Maybe throttle it, because there's no way somebody is a keyboard warrior and that aspect doesn't seep into other communication skills in their life.
Yeah.
Less defensive communication, more holistic, open, respectful communication is just about communicating better.
Yeah.
It's just elevating your skills. It's not really about anything else besides that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times the reason why we're culpable, even if we make a video that tries to provide nuance to a conversation like that, is because we're slaves to the aggressive title and thumbnail. We have to come off as our titles and thumbnails need to be grabbing. They need to evoke an emotional response for people to watch the video. And I'm not the only person who says this. Shade Tree Surgeon, he's got big videos on where he's sitting there pontificating, and boy oh boy can that man pontificate on the nature of clickbait. And he's like, look, my video isn't clickbait if the stuff that's in the title and thumbnail happens in the video. But what he does is he will dial it up a little bit. I do the same thing. I've got a video at the time of filming that's coming out that says these new Triumph beginner bikes might crush the big four. The title is pretty aggressive, and I know it's going to evoke an emotional response, and that's where there is some culpability on us, because we're riling people up. We kind of have to on YouTube to get people to click.
But let's trap them and then pet their little heads, try to get them to calm down. Which, I mean, it's like clickbaity headlines and clickbait articles are just suddenly becoming, not suddenly, it's been a steady progression, but they are becoming a way of our American media. Like give it no time and we'll be tabloid city, a lot like the UK. Well, I mean, it's kind of, we're already there. Who am I kidding?
Yeah, I mean, we're functionally, what we do is just motorcycle tabloid journalism, but you know what? I think generally, every time I put out a point, I try to have a positive spin, even if there's a negative aspect to it. I try to talk about both. I try to give you guys my full opinion. I just can't do it in the title of a video. So, in closing here, I think the biggest thing we can all do, motorcycle journalist people, motorcycle rider talker people, us talking heads, and folks at home, is just, just dial it back. Take 10% off for there, bud. Just a good 10 to 20% off. And then I think we'll all be a lot better, and we'll notice that there's more growth in motorcycling. What do you think?
We need more motorcycles on the road in general. I know that it's scary, but it's kind of like the only way to keep us safe, is just to bring more awareness to it, get more riders on the road, kind of start changing that paradigm a little bit. That would be nice, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're a little bit nervous about getting on a motorcycle, if you're still with us after this 20-minute diatribe, if you're still out there, you're watching, and you're concerned because you don't know anything, just do it. I didn't know anything when I started motorcycling. Just do it. Go have fun. And if somebody in a comment section has you down, ignore them. Just ignore them. because you're never going to encounter that person again. I promise you, you're never going to encounter that person again. Just water off the duck's back, woo-saw, and then, you know, move on with your day and go get a motorcycle and go have fun.
Spite, what if we started like a little confessional? Like maybe we can absolve you of your sins if you have committed such YouTube commentary sinful acts. You can come to us, and I'll wear my nun costume or Pope. I have options here.
Yeah, I know you have a Pope hat and stuff at home.
You can be the priest, and like we can do a YouTube comment confessional, because every time I get a text from you that's a screen cap of a comment, I like go make popcorn, I sit down with it. I get a little bit jealous that you're getting these comments because they're just so like insane and not throttled at all.
I think that idea right there is like $1 million idea. I think that's just going to be a new recurring segment on the channel. I'll go buy a Pope costume or a priest costume. We'll set up a little stage in my house, and because it's hot as balls, we'll just do these like comments section confessional videos.
Yeah,
and,
let's just become memes, all right, for the summer. It should just be our summer vacation plan, is becoming memes for the people.
I'm down for that. If you're down for that, folks, let us know down in the comments below. Let us know what you think about the motorcycle gatekeeper aspect and internet gatekeeping generally too. Is that something that you've encountered? Is it something that after we've explained it, you're like, oh shit, I've accidentally done that to some people? Because I discovered that myself after, you know, a couple of videos where I was like, oh, I don't like the way I sounded there. I sounded like a dick. So let us know all that down below. Big thanks to Whitney for coming and hanging out and being a sounding board upon which to pontificate on the nature of internet reality.
I'm here for it.
Well, we're gonna go back home and get some drinks because it's hot as balls, and we'll catch you in the next one. See you later.